My wife abandoned me and our son in a remote mountain area during a storm to save her lover. Our son was hit by a rock slide and died in my arms, while she posted on social media celebrating her lover's successful surgery. Desperate, I filed for divorce. While alone at the crematorium for our son, I discovered a video of her dancing and kissing her lover. Later, I inherited the family business and returned. She knelt, repented, and begged for reconciliation, but I refused and exposed her actions. Finally, on the day of my new wedding, she killed herself. The day our 5-year-old son was cremated, my wife was dancing and kissing his idealized first love. After 10 years of marriage to Catherine Davis, she finally agreed to spend Christmas and New Year's with Ethan. Our 5-year-old Ethan, feeling a mother's love for the first time, used his long-saved pocket money to buy her a necklace. On Christmas Eve, on the way home, Catherine Davis received an emergency phone call from Michael Thompson, his idealized first love. She didn't hesitate to abandon Ethan and me in a remote mountain area and drove away in a panic. It was a heavy rainstorm. The mountain road collapsed, and when a boulder fell, it tore open Ethan's stomach, his intestines spilling out with blood. An ambulance couldn't reach us. After seeing Catherine Davis' location, I frantically dialed her phone number. If only she drove back, Ethan might still have a chance for emergency treatment. But she never picked up. It wasn't until the 101st call that she finally answered, clearly annoyed. Michael Thompson had a heart attack and is being rushed to the hospital. I'm the only one he knows here. I can't leave him. I don't have time to argue with you right now. I'll make it up to you and Ethan later. Before I could reply, she hung up the phone. I held my blood-soaked Ethan, watching helplessly as he convulsed in my arms until he died in agony. Not long after, I saw Catherine Davis post on her social media feed, celebrating Michael Thompson's successful surgery. New year, new beginnings. So glad you're still by my side. Utterly disillusioned, I took Ethan to the crematorium alone and prepared the divorce papers. I left a comment on her post. Wonderful. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Almost immediately after I posted the comment, Catherine Davis' phone rang. She immediately launched into a furious tirade. David Miller, what was the meaning of that comment? I was just celebrating Michael Thompson's recovery, and you have to be sarcastic. I told you I'd compensate you and Tommy. You two are just alike. Missing one Christmas and New Year's won't kill you. Catherine Davis' sharp voice grated on my ears, and I felt a wave of nausea. Tommy had been overjoyed when Catherine Davis agreed to spend the holidays with us as a family. He used his piggy bank to buy Catherine Davis a necklace. He held on to it until he died. His last words before closing his eyes were, "Did Mommy abandon me?" Recalling that moment felt like my heart was being slowly sliced apart. My voice choked with emotion. No need for compensation. Didn't you say Michael Thompson needed you? Just stay with him. My words stunned Catherine Davis into silence for a long moment. Then her voice rose, filled with impatience. Why are you getting jealous over nothing? Tommy is a child, but can't you act like an adult? Michael Thompson was so agitated by that comment you posted on social media, he passed out again. If you keep acting like this, you and Ethan won't see me this holiday. Catherine Davis was used to wielding authority and always had a bad temper. To keep the family together over our 10 years of marriage, I always backed down, even begging for her forgiveness. But this time, I spoke calmly. Then there's no need to see each other again. Catherine Davis, we're getting a divorce. In 10 years of marriage, I had compromised too much for Tommy to have a complete family. But those compromises cost our 5-year-old his life. What did you say? Catherine Davis' breath hitched, her voice trembling slightly. Before I could speak again, I heard Michael Thompson's weak call from the other end of the phone. Catherine, my chest still feels uncomfortable. Can you stay with me? Catherine Davis immediately responded to him, then gritted her teeth and warned me. Don't think I'm afraid just because you mentioned divorce. Tommy is so attached to me, he'll hate you if we divorce. You'll regret this. With that, she hung up the phone, and I received notification from the hospital asking me to sign the death certificate. I handled the death registration procedures alone. During this time, Catherine Davis vanished as if she had disappeared from the face of the earth. It wasn't until I took Tommy's body for cremation. My phone received a video sent by Michael Thompson. In the video, Catherine Davis and others seemed to be celebrating something. She was dressed provocatively, dancing suggestively in the middle of the dance floor. She leaned on Michael Thompson, drinking, and they kissed amidst the crowd's cheers. Then Michael Thompson sent another message. David, Catherine was just celebrating my discharge from the hospital. We were just messing around, don't be mad. My fingers clenched abruptly, digging into my palms, causing sharp pain. Tommy's body was being pushed into the cremation chamber, while Catherine Davis was dancing provocatively next to another man. My stomach churned. I felt an overwhelming sense of nausea. A week later, I brought Tommy's urn back home, planning to sort through his belongings. I hadn't expected Catherine Davis, who had been missing for so long, to appear before me. As soon as she saw me, her brows relaxed considerably. She pressed herself against me, her voice laced with feigned sweetness. Haven't contacted me for ages. Okay, don't be angry. I'll apologize. All right. I'll give you anything you want. I felt intense resistance to her closeness and pushed her away. I spoke in a strictly businesslike tone. Since you're back, be ready to sign the divorce papers. The smile on Catherine Davis' lips faded slightly, and disappointment flickered in her eyes. I'm giving you a way out, can't you stop being difficult? Tommy is already so big, what kind of talk is this? Getting a divorce just like that? Do you want him to become a kid with no mother? I sneered and lifted my gaze. Did you ever treat him like your son? Just like you said on the phone, Tommy will be with me, after the divorce. Seeing my attitude, Catherine Davis' brows furrowed deeper. She glanced behind me and pursed her lips. Where's Tommy? Let him say for himself, whether he wants to stay with me or you. You want a divorce just because of that thing with Michael Thompson. Why are you so petty? Besides, after all these years, this was the first time Tommy was going to spend the holidays with me. Why do you have to pick this time to make a scene? Catherine Davis spoke carelessly, convinced I was bringing up divorce because I was getting jealous over nothing. In 10 years of marriage, I gave up the chance to go to Singapore with my mother and inherit the family business, staying instead to build Catherine Davis Company from scratch. I was even willing to become a stay-at-home father, supporting her career for her sake. But after Tommy was born, Catherine Davis seemed to have completed a task and dumped all the responsibilities, big and small, onto me. Tommy didn't see her even once a year, and she didn't even let Tommy call her Mommy. The only time was when he had a fever. Catherine Davis took Tommy to the hospital behind my back. I thought she had come to her senses and was willing to live as a proper family. I never imagined it was to make our 5-year-old donate his heart to Michael Thompson. If it hadn't been for Tommy to have a complete family, I wouldn't have continued living with Catherine Davis at all. Looking at Catherine Davis' indifferent expression, my heart trembled with pain. She was right. Tommy always yearned for a mother's love. At his age, because of Catherine Davis' neglect, the other kids isolated him, calling him a kid with no mother. So whenever Catherine Davis showed Tommy even a little affection, he treasured it like a precious gem. No matter what, he was willing to forgive Catherine Davis. Remembering Tommy's cries before he died, my eyes stung with tears. Seeing my silence, Catherine Davis smirked, seemingly believing I had changed my mind. She took my hand and said softly, David Miller, you should at least consider Ethan. If you really want a divorce, you should ask for his opinion too. Her confident tone ignited my grief and anger. Biting the soft tissue inside my mouth, I managed to force out a sentence. Tommy is already dead. Before I could finish, a sudden phone alarm interrupted me. It was a message from Michael Thompson. I instinctively glanced at the content. Catherine, my chest feels bad, the ambulance isn't here yet, I'm afraid I'm going to die. Catherine Davis panicked instantly. Her steps were frantic, and she shoved me aside from the doorway. David Miller, I don't care what you're thinking. If you really want a divorce, then you and Ethan had better not appear in front of me again. Tell Tommy I don't have a son like him. With that, she slammed the door shut. Her resolute back was just like when she abandoned Tommy and me. In the empty house, I clutched the small urn in my arms. Catherine Davis never noticed it, not at all. While sorting through Tommy's belongings, I also found drawings he had made. Tommy was a very good and quiet child. Besides going to preschool, he spent most of his time drawing in his room. On every single one, he drew a family portrait. With me, with him, and with Catherine Davis. Daddy, when will Mommy come back to see me? I'm very good, I won't make her angry. Does she not like me? Tommy's innocent words echoed in my mind, causing my tears to fall, one drop at a time, onto the urn. It wasn't that Catherine Davis didn't like him, it was simply because Tommy was the child she had with me. After deciding to divorce Catherine Davis, I contacted my mother, who was far away in Switzerland. After learning about what happened to me, and the news of Tommy's death, she cried for a long time. Son, I told you long ago, Catherine Davis is not a good person. Bring Tommy's urn back. Tommy shouldn't have such a heartless mother. Don't worry, you've always been my son. No matter what, your stepfather's inheritance will be yours. Hearing my mother's words, I was touched. Thinking back, I truly gave up too much for Catherine Davis. Catherine Davis contacted me a month after resuming work. She told me the company was holding a corporate celebration event, and I, as the head of PR, needed to be there. I was already planning to resign, and today's corporate celebration event was a good opportunity to finalize some things with Catherine Davis. After I arrived at the hotel, I saw Michael Thompson. He stood meekly beside Catherine Davis. Many colleagues were trying to curry favor with him. Did you see him? That new assistant. Heard he has some connection to Ms. Davis. Isn't Ms. Davis married to Mr. Miller, the head of PR? Isn't it inappropriate to say that? You guys didn't see them. In the office, Michael Thompson and Ms. Davis were kissing so intensely. After seeing my figure, the whispers abruptly stopped. I didn't change my expression and walked straight past them. Catherine Davis had put a lot of effort into this corporate celebration event, even launching a nationwide live broadcast. As soon as she was on camera, she affectionately linked arms with Michael Thompson. People unaware of the truth thought they were the real couple. Many netizens flooded the screen with comments, congratulating Catherine Davis and Michael Thompson, saying they were a match made in heaven. Aren't Ms. Davis and assistant Michael Thompson getting too close? Mr. Miller, the head of PR, is still here. Someone raised a question. Catherine Davis instinctively looked at me, giving me a look, seemingly warning me not to say anything disruptive. I pursed my lips and replied calmly. Ms. Davis and assistant Michael Thompson have known each other longer than I have. It's normal for them to be close. I believe they have a pure friendship. Catherine Davis blinked slightly in surprise. After all, in the past, I would have caused a huge scene. Michael Thompson also looked at me, with an ambiguous expression, picked up a glass of wine, and prepared to offer me a toast. David, I'm new here, don't mind me. This drink is for you. Just as he was about to drink, Catherine Davis stopped him. Catherine Davis' beautiful eyebrows furrowed, and she said with a pout, your heart isn't well. No drinking. Seeing Catherine Davis' attitude, everyone's eyes showed something different. Their gazes towards me were filled with pity. Yet, I remained calm. Just as Catherine Davis was pulling Michael Thompson to cut the cake, the screen suddenly went dark. What lit up next were countless explicit photos. Every single photo featured Catherine Davis and Michael Thompson. The room erupted in commotion. Catherine Davis' face turned pale. Grabbing the microphone, she shouted for the hotel staff to turn off the screen. But it was no use. After seeing those disgusting photos, I nearly threw up. At the same time, I realized that among the people attending the corporate celebration event today, someone was an infiltrator. After all, Catherine Davis had dominated the business world for so many years, many people wanted to take her down. Who photoshopped these pictures? Who did this? Catherine Davis, usually composed, panicked. No matter what, she was still a woman, and facing all this, it was inevitable she would lose her composure. David Miller, hurry and fix this. If this gets out, it will severely impact the company's reputation. Seeing me, Catherine Davis grabbed onto me as if I were a lifeline, shaking my shoulders frantically. I scoffed inwardly. Now she remembers me. Although I had willingly married into her wealthy family and business all these years, the company was something Catherine Davis and I built together. And the PR team I led had helped Catherine Davis deal with many messes. Now that her dirty business with Michael Thompson had been exposed, Catherine Davis still expected me to clean up her mess. People around us whispered. Because the live broadcast was on, the online buzz escalated rapidly. Even the stock price began to fluctuate. Ms. Davis. It's bad. The company's stock price is plummeting. A foreign company has already canceled our collaboration. They're even demanding compensation for breach of contract. One bad piece of news after another turned Catherine Davis' face deathly pale. Michael Thompson, even more terrified, cowered in a corner, afraid to move. Seeing my silence, Catherine Davis shrieked. What are you standing there for? Go help. I scoffed, ignored her words, pushed through the crowd, and walked straight towards the door. It wasn't until the event hall door closed that I contemptuously threw my employee badge and resignation letter onto the ground. Almost everyone had pinned their hopes on me. As long as Mr. Miller, the head of PR, leads his team to handle this, our company will be fine. But they didn't know I had booked a flight to Switzerland for tonight. After going home to pick up Tommy's urn, I headed straight for the airport. And before boarding, I posted the divorce papers online and tagged Catherine Davis. Catherine Davis cheated during our marriage and caused her child's death. The photos online are real, not photoshopped. I have divorced the CEO of Jiang Group. Trending topics appeared one after another. Everyone was stunned by the statement I posted. Catherine Davis' face was deathly pale. She stared intently at the trending topic, not expecting me to file for divorce at such a critical moment, and to make her affair public. She was flustered. Her fingertips trembled slightly as she dialed my phone number. But all she got was the cold, automated voice. I had turned off my phone before boarding. Catherine Davis always thought I couldn't leave her, but she was wrong. I was once willing to stay by her side, but only because of Tommy. Now that Tommy is dead, I have no attachments left. Looking at the unanswered phone, a bewildered expression finally appeared on Catherine Davis' face. She quickly found the team I used to lead, grabbing their arms anxiously. Where's David Miller? Where is he? When can you fix the things online? Faced with Catherine Davis' questions, the relevant technical staff were also sweating profusely. Ms. Davis, we can't reach Mr. Miller, the head of PR, either. And this matter only, he can solve it. Catherine Davis sank back into her seat, feeling helpless. Her brows were tightly furrowed, and her hands trembled uncontrollably as they clasped together. Michael Thompson, who had been silent nearby, spoke up then. Isn't there another solution? As long as Catherine Davis admits she divorced David Miller a long time ago, and that we are mutually in love, couldn't this matter be resolved? Michael Thompson took Catherine Davis' hand, a flicker of tenderness in his eyes. We just need to explain that we're in a normal relationship. Besides, I was planning to propose to you. Before Michael Thompson could finish, Catherine Davis quickly pulled back her hand, creating distance between them. What nonsense are you talking about? I have a husband and a child. You're also at fault in this matter, and you must help resolve it. Leaving that sentence behind, Catherine Davis turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation. Only Michael Thompson remained rooted to the spot, his face grim. The staff nearby looked at him with disdain. Catherine Davis quickly returned home. The first thing she did was search the house for my presence. However, I had cleared out everything. Even the wedding photos had been smashed to pieces by me. Catherine Davis stood in the empty living room, breathing heavily. Her gaze fell upon the divorce papers lying on the table. My signature was already on them, signed long ago. She froze for a few seconds, her heart sinking. The surrounding air seemed to thin, as if something important had left her. Catherine Davis gripped the divorce papers tightly, then screamed and ripped them into shreds the next second. Then she took out her phone, and frantically dialed my number. Answer the phone, please answer. She murmured to herself, her voice laced with a hint of pleading, but the only reply was the automated voice repeating itself. After some time, a knock sounded at the door. A glimmer of hope flashed in Catherine Davis' eyes. She rushed to the door in an instant. David Miller, I knew. However, it wasn't me at the door. Before leaving, I had asked the local police to deliver Tommy's death certificate to Catherine Davis. When Catherine Davis saw the death certificate, her pupils contracted sharply. This is impossible. I am Tommy's mother. Tommy was fine. I saw him on Christmas Eve. The police officer was bewildered by her reaction. He looked at Catherine Davis in confusion. The time of death was on Christmas Eve. A mudslide occurred on that mountain road. The child's stomach was torn open, and his intestines spilled out. We still can't bear to think about the horrific sight. As the child's mother, didn't you know? Catherine Davis' mind went blank. She staggered as if struck by lightning. It was then that she remembered the words I had spoken. Tommy is already dead. Many words played over and over in her mind. Tommy died on the very day she abandoned us. That day was Christmas Eve, but her mind was completely fixated on Michael Thompson. What did she say about me back then? She thought I was getting jealous over nothing, that I was being unreasonable, and even told me she didn't have a son like Tommy. Tears streamed down Catherine Davis' face. She didn't even realize she was crying. If she hadn't left that day, maybe Tommy wouldn't have died. She had ruined everything. Tommy, my son. Catherine Davis clutched her chest, sobbing hysterically. She fell to her knees, pounding the ground with her fists. It's all my fault. I deserve to die. I shouldn't have left. If I hadn't left that day, none of this would have happened. Crying, she tried to hit her head against the wall. Seeing she was about to harm herself, the police officer quickly restrained her and called her emergency contact. When Michael Thompson rushed over, he saw Catherine Davis in a state of despair. After understanding what had happened, he knelt before Catherine Davis and hugged her tightly. Catherine, no matter what happens, I'll be by your side. Tommy is dead, but he's gone. You don't like David Miller, and you didn't like that child. We can have another one. However, those words seemed to touch a raw nerve in Catherine Davis. She violently pushed Michael Thompson away. Get out. Shut up. You have no right to say that. Ethan was pushed to the ground by her, his eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at Sarah. Ever since he told Sarah about his heart condition, she had been careful even not to raise her voice slightly. Sarah, the dead cannot return. Shut up. Sarah's eyes were bloodshot, wishing she could kill Ethan. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have left them on the road, Leo wouldn't have died, and David wouldn't have left me. I asked the doctor. Your heart is perfectly fine. You lied to me. Ethan's face turned pale, his eyes filled with resentment. Just as he was about to say something, Sarah's phone rang. Sarah's face lit up, thinking she had found my whereabouts. But the next second, her eyes instantly turned cold. She quickly scanned the information sent by her secretary, then sneered repeatedly. She raised her hand and slapped Ethan. Ethan, you're really something. To get close to me, you actually published these photos. Do you have any idea how important David and Sterling Corp are to me? Now Sterling Corp stock has plummeted, David is nowhere to be found, it's all your fault. Get out. Get out, don't let me see you again. Ethan was thrown out by Sarah, and she was left alone again. Gritting her teeth, Sarah posted a missing person notice online. She deployed drones and mobilized all her people to search for my whereabouts. After the plane landed in Colorado, I carried Leo's ashes and found Mother. Leaving Sarah, I suddenly felt the air was much fresher. Mother's eyes instantly welled up when she saw me and Leo. The frail old lady hunched over and sobbed for a long time. If I hadn't been so stubborn back then, maybe none of this would have happened. I should have listened to Mother, given up on Sarah, and not married into the Sterling family, but instead come back to inherit the family business. I used to think I loved Sarah, but later I felt that for Leo's sake, life had to go on. It was also my constant tolerance that led to such a young Leo dying like that. I chose a day. At a cemetery in Colorado, I buried Leo. It was drizzling on the day of the funeral, and the only attendees were Mother and I. I bought many things Leo liked and placed them in front of his tombstone. Looking at his photo, my eyes felt sore. I held him in my arms from the moment he was born, and he died in my arms as well. Leo, it's okay without Mommy. You're so good, we don't need Mommy. I spoke softly to the tombstone. I wondered if Leo could hear me. After the funeral, everything returned to normal. Following Mother's arrangements, I smoothly inherited the business left by my stepfather. For a long time afterward, I was busy working. And I knew that Sarah had never given up searching for me. Even abroad, news and Sir's missing person campaign updates were everywhere. To find me, she even went as far as to break away from the Sterling family. She neglected Sterling Corp entirely, and the leaderless group quickly went downhill. Every day I logged onto a platform, I would see Sarah posting videos and going live online. Her eyes red, she would cry and say that if I would just come back, she would do anything I said, willing to give up everything for me. Watching Sarah's tears in the live stream, I smiled sarcastically. What's the use of regretting now? None of this can bring Leo back. Time flew by, and several years passed in the blink of an eye. Everyone thought I was dead, after all. After coming to Colorado, I changed my name, canceled my previous identity, and made it impossible for anyone to find me. But Sarah still didn't believe it, searching for me desperately, even letting Sterling Corp she built herself go bankrupt. I knew all this, but I didn't care. After leaving Sarah, my life was going very well, and my career was also soaring. Also, under Mother's arrangement, I met my current girlfriend, Emily. For a business partnership, I took Emily back to a US city. Looking at the city, both familiar and strange, I felt a moment of disorientation. I calculated, it had been almost 8 years since I'd been back. Watching the children running out of the school gate at dismissal time, a bitter smile touched my lips. If Leo hadn't died, he would be this happy at this age too. David, is that you? The familiar voice made me pause, then I turned to look. I was prepared to meet Sarah when I returned, but I didn't expect news of her to come so quickly. To be honest, after being away for 8 years, I had almost forgotten Sarah's appearance. But the woman in my memory wasn't like this now. Her hair was dry and yellow, her eyes were dark and bruised, looking like she was about to die. When she saw me, tears welled up and streamed down her face, and she reached out and hugged me tightly. David, where did you go? Do you know I've been looking for you like crazy? How could you be so cruel? Feeling her body heat, goosebumps covered my entire body. I pushed her away forcefully, creating distance between us. My face was cold, and I almost subconsciously blurted out. Control yourself. Sarah's lips trembled, her hand frozen in midair before she finally dropped it weakly. Her eyes were red from crying, looking utterly wronged. I'm sorry, I just missed you too much. I haven't seen you in so long. It had indeed been a long time, a full 8 years, enough time for me to forget all my love for her. David is dead, and Leo is dead too. You don't need to bother me anymore. I looked away in disgust, noticing a figure walking towards me, in the distance. Besides, I'm already engaged. Sarah seemed not to have heard what I said, her eyes widening. The next second, my fiancé walked up to me with a smile and took my hand. On our intertwined fingers were a pair of engagement rings. Emily looked at Sarah with curiosity. Honey, is this the ex-wife you told me about? Sarah's steps faltered, and she stumbled back. You're getting married. How could you do this to me? We're not even divorced yet, I've been looking for you for so many years, and you're just going to marry another woman, how could you do this to me? Her voice grew louder and louder, her eyes bloodshot, looking terrifying. I frowned, thinking Sarah might have gone crazy, and shielded Emily protectively behind me, watching Sarah warily. Sarah noticed my action, and despair filled her eyes. Even if Leo is dead, he's still your son. You abandon me and marry another woman, aren't you afraid Leo won't rest in peace? Hearing Sarah still bring up Leo, I was so angry I stepped forward and slapped her. She fell to the ground, covering her face and sobbing. You dare mention Leo in front of me? Leo had always been a pain in my heart. For 8 years, neither mother nor Emily had ever mentioned Leo in front of me, being very careful. Thinking that his death was because of Sarah, the resentment in my eyes threatened to erupt. Sarah, you don't deserve to be a mother. Even if Leo died, he must have understood before he died that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get even a bit of your attention. If you want a child so badly, why don't you go have one with Ethan? Get out of my sight. I scoffed, looking scornfully at Sarah, who was sprawled on the ground. Then I prepared to leave with Emily. But Sarah scrambled and grabbed my pants leg. You can't leave, David. You can't leave. I've been looking for you, everyone said you were dead, but I knew you were just angry and didn't want to see me. Sarah was trembling all over, tears dripping onto the ground. But how can you marry someone else? I never agreed to a divorce, how could you just make that decision on your own? I pulled away from Sarah. My face was full of sarcasm. Just pretend I'm dead. Besides, didn't you always think I was a hassle? I'm with the person I love, shouldn't you be congratulating me? Sarah's face turned pale as she listened to my words. She shook her head violently and opened her mouth to say something. But no words came out. Seeing that I was getting impatient, she frantically took out her phone. She opened her photo album. Inside was a video. I know everything now, Ethan doesn't have a heart condition, he was faking it. Even that thing 8 years ago, those photos were his doing, many of them I didn't do. They were all AI generated. Please believe me, okay? Believe me just this once, I really didn't. All these years, I've blamed myself for Leo's death. I used all my money to invest in building elementary schools, and every time I see those lively, jumping children, I think of Leo. Sarah said, wiping away tears. I've done a lot, trying to make up for the 5 years I was absent. But I realized a long time ago that we can't go back. You're getting married, you're all moving forward. Only I am still living in the past. See, I kicked Ethan out. Can you give me a chance to make amends? At least for Leo's sake, because he loved me so much. Can we just live a good life together? Live out his share of life. Sarah kept trying to hand me the phone as she spoke. I glanced at the video on the phone, and my whole body went cold. In the video, Ethan was locked up in a mental institution. Sarah had arranged things inside, it was less like treatment and more like torture. Watching Ethan, who was being tortured into incoherence inside. I just felt utter disgust for Sarah. Sarah, is this what you call atonement? Shifting all the blame onto another person, torturing him relentlessly, and then claiming you're not responsible. Perhaps my look of disgust stung her, and she lowered her head in fear. With a plea, don't look at me like that, I really don't know what to do, I even thought about dying. But if I died, I wouldn't see you. I silently rolled my eyes, turned, and walked away, still holding Emily's hand. Then just die. As soon as I said that, Sarah didn't chase after me anymore. After finalizing the partnership in a US city, I booked a plane ticket, ready to leave. I had originally thought that the last meeting would be the final one. After all, I had made things very clear. I also had a fiancé, and there was no way I would have anything to do with Sarah. But I never expected Sarah to follow me, coming back with me to Colorado. She even rented a place next door to my house. I clicked my tongue in annoyance and turned to ask Emily. Should we move? She's constantly here, and we can't have a proper wedding. But Emily obediently shook her head. She held my hand. She's been looking for you for so many years. She can't let go just yet, she must still have something to say to you. After all, she is Leo's biological mother. It's better to just talk things through. Over the years, I had built a new life, and with Emily's companionship, I had gradually moved past the grief of losing Leo. Sarah's regret and pain meant nothing to me. This was all her own doing. Before, she treated Leo and me like a virus, wishing we were dead. Now she was like a persistent rash that couldn't be shaken off. Sarah's persistence was astounding. Every day, rain or shine, she would stand outside my door. Passersby even called the police because of it. Seeing her gave me a headache. How many times do I have to tell you? I have a fiancé, and I don't want her to misunderstand. There's no going back for us, no matter what. You don't need to cling to me like this. Hearing my words, Sarah's eyes turned red again. I was well aware of her current situation. She couldn't possibly survive in Colorado. The Sterling family had kicked her out, Sterling Corp went bankrupt, she used all her money to build schools, and she didn't speak the language in Colorado. Before, I loved her and indulged her in everything. But now, 8 years later, that love had long since dwindled away. Why make things so awkward? I sighed and finally decided to talk properly with Sarah. I arranged to meet Sarah at a coffee shop. She sat opposite me awkwardly, her hands on her lap, not daring to meet my gaze. This was probably the only time in 8 years that we had a calm conversation sitting down. The atmosphere was silent. Sarah took a few deep breaths before taking a photo from her bag. David, I know we can't go back. If I had found you, and apologized back then, would you have been able to forgive me? I lowered my gaze and looked at the photo. It was our wedding photo, which I had smashed to pieces before I left. Sarah must have gone to great lengths to paste the photo back together. But even pasted back together, the embarrassing marks couldn't be erased. Just like between her and me, listening to Sarah's words, I still smirked. You wanted to find me this badly just to say these useless things. Can what you say come true? Can Leo come back to life? Leo was my bottom line. In the past, I was grateful that Sarah was willing to have the child. And that he was healthy. I raised him from a tiny baby, until he was 5 years old. He would sweetly call me, Daddy, and he would wait with me, for Sarah to come home. But in the end, he died in my arms. Do you know, Leo was in a lot of pain, when he died? My hands were covered in blood, that flowed from his belly. He was in so much pain, crying desperately, and he kept calling out for you. He asked me why Mommy didn't like him. I spoke every word clearly and quickly. My hands clenched into fists. Every time I thought of that scene, I was tormented by pain. Do you know what you were doing, when he was cremated? I sneered, and took out my phone, sending her the video from 8 years ago. I saw Sarah's face lose all color, her eyes vacant. When he was thrown into the incinerator, you were dancing, kissing, and partying with Ethan. How dare you ask me to forgive you? How dare you think Leo would forgive you? Sarah's mouth fell open, and tears streamed down her face. Why? You never told me about this, why? Ethan was the only one in your heart. Whether I told you or not didn't matter. I took a necklace from my pocket. It was something Leo had bought with the pocket money he had saved for a long time, knowing Sarah would be there for Christmas. There was a blood stain on the necklace that couldn't be wiped off, no matter how hard I tried. He held on to the necklace until he died. I had thought Sarah didn't deserve this necklace at all. But this was my son's unfulfilled wish. Leo bought this for you before he died. He really hoped to see you wear it. Sarah took the necklace slowly, her hands trembling. She cried until she completely broke down, unable to make a sound. She buried her head in her chest, her shoulders shaking, full of deep regret. Mommy is sorry, Mommy is sorry. I silently looked away. This regret was only earned at the cost of Leo's life. I stood up and threw the wedding ring I had with her onto the ground. From now on, we go our separate ways. I hope Miss Sarah can keep her promise. She had promised me this would be the last time, that she would never bother me again. And Sarah kept her word. The next day, she checked out and was never seen again. On the day of my wedding to Emily, Mother brought me a piece of news. Sarah's body was found on the coast in Colorado. The initial assessment was suicide. I had thought she had already returned to a U.S. city. I didn't expect. Facing this news, I felt calm. After completing the wedding with Emily, I went with her to visit Leo. We agreed that we would never have children in this life. Because I only have one son, Leo. A necklace was placed in front of the tombstone. Sarah didn't take the necklace with her in the end. Emily held my hand. Are you sad? I shook my head. This was the consequence. Sarah and I had long since had nothing to do with each other.